the officers will contact somebody who has that felony level, not to take it lightly, amount of drugs on them. They won't go to jail at all. We will call a licensed clinician, a social worker, and that's where the $800,000 and most of it is going to, for the hiring of those folks to come to the scene where the officer is, and then connect with that person and try to get them down that path towards drug rehabilitation if they want to. It's a voluntary program.
And before we continue, I know that we've identified weed as a way to impact the disparities that are higher than 4.2. So do you have numbers? The types of disparities for PCS, for example, different types of PCS.
By memory, maybe at best. I don't think we brought those with us here. So by memory, you have PCS, possession of a controlled substance, 3 primary drugs within the PCS that we see most prominently. In order of prominence that we see from just a raw numbers standpoint, methamphetamine possession is number 1, followed by heroin, followed by cocaine. The methamphetamine numbers relative to RRI rate, here's where it's going to get a little squishy. I'm just going by memory. We put those together, and they are in the neighborhood of, I think it's 5 to 1, or potentially higher. Methamphetamine is, I believe, somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 1, 7 or 8 to 1. Heroin moves down to lower than 1 to 1. It's in the neighborhood of 0.7, 0.8, 0.9. Again, please don't write this part down, because I'm just going by memory as we are drilling down. Cocaine, on the other hand, the highest disproportionality, but also the lowest aggregate number as far as sheer volume of people that get arrested nowadays and brought into the criminal justice system relative to a certain drug type. We looked at all 3 of them. The program includes all of the controlled substances I've outlined and others. We have a few other associated drugs that everybody can be arrested for and inserted in a program into the criminal justice system. Those are certainly the big 3. Hopefully that helps to give you at least somewhat of a guidepost answer.
Hey, Rod, if I could just interject, these disparities exist statewide. So I think it was surprising to the chiefs and sheriffs and DAs across the state. Often they look at Multnomah County and think these disparities only exist here. But when CJC, their website shows those disparities in arrests for different PCS, possession of controlled substance, those arrest disparities exist in almost every jurisdiction.
A quick number visit, and then we'll move on to other programs. But quick numbers for that, those people that are keeping kind of track of different experiences in the criminal justice system. We expect in a 12-month period of time that about 500 individuals in the pilot program area, the downtown core area out and around Lloyd Center, are going to be contacted and offered this program. The capacity for the program per design is about 300. It's kind of squishy around 275, 350 at any given time. And so we believe that the hydraulics of about 500 people being operating for the program, hopefully those that are offered the program will participate. People will come and go in the program. We have capacity right now under the resources that have been identified for about 300 round number. So now with the IPTs, about 500, we add another 500 that are going to have a different experience in the criminal justice system as we step forward. So, okay, let's move on to another area. So case processing. Remember, the case processing was the area of who gets offered diversion-related programs. Now, certainly LEAD in certain frameworks and mindsets is a diversion-based process. But remember, we wanted to get upstream of the arrest category. We wanted to discontinue the insertion into the criminal justice system. Those are 2 tangible things that we've done here in the last 12 months to assist with that. But now when someone's in the criminal justice system, they move past that and they are into the criminal justice system, what are we doing to make advancements, do better, be more fair in that area? So the goal, once again, is relative to convictions and sentencing to, there is a high RRI rate, low. Remember, this is where we went inverse. We went down to 7.71. So less people offered diversion. So what are we going to do about it? So that's where the three of us met together with our chief of police out in Gresham, Chief Robin Sells. We met together as it weaves into, we didn't have this label, the treatment first label at the time, but we met together as a group. And essentially it was, I'm going to call it a simple question, but it's a very complex question in some ways. And the answer is, I'd like to have a conversation about charging individuals. I know it's a felony on the books for these PCS user amounts for the rest of the county outside of the lead conversation. I know it's a felony on the books. What do you think of us trying to change and again take that step back from a punitive sanction model or pursuit and instead give space for treatment and services and programs? What do you say that this community, in all but a few, we change the rules or we charge them with misdemeanors? And the answer was, I'll just overly summarize, the answer was, I'm all in, right? I'm all in from the sheriff, I'm all in from the chief here in Portland, out in Gresham. We insist on service dollars remaining, treatment dollars. We need treatment dollars to not follow the felony charge. We need treatment dollars to follow the person, right? That person, we don't want to lose the treatment dollars because we pursued a misdemeanor as opposed to a felony, because believe it or not, that's how some of the hydraulics work relative to funding in our system. So we embraced that notion. Let me interrupt myself and turn it over to you guys. If you were there at the meeting, what were your impressions of that conversation?
Well, again, this is one of those opportunities for us to really change how we're approaching at the front end arrests for possession of controlled substances, user amounts. So typically people who are out there and coming into contact with law enforcement and they have small amounts of narcotics, usually something that is indicating to us that this person has an addiction issue. And obviously being in the criminal justice system isn't where people with addictions should be. We want to get them into treatment. A lot of the folks who come into contact with need housing as well. So it was important to us to really make certain that whatever resources, currently when someone is convicted of a felony and put on supervision, there's a lot of access to resources too that go along with that. And surprisingly enough, if you take away that felony conviction and you say it's a misdemeanor, a lot of those resources evaporate. So we want to make sure that the alignment between our criminal justice system partners and funding and all of that takes place as well, so that if we decriminalize behavior, we still leave resources for treatment and housing, employment, and things like that in place.
You know, one thing I'd like to add to that too, I don't think this room, I'm sure you're well aware of it too, if the traditional models like in the 80s and 90s, especially that first level drug offense, you get picked up for that and arrested for a felony, you get charged with a felony, and you get clean, you still have a felony record on your arrest, and that's a barrier the rest of your life for housing, services, and it's just that's expensive. It's just not right. Again, we just made a pretty quick agreement. It didn't take long to come to the conclusion that we can avoid the arrest process, the jail process, convert more towards treatment, and keep that felony off the record. Chances of success, I believe, are a lot greater.
So another aspect, in addition to a little bit more meat on the bone of treatment first. So the charge, beginning as misdemeanors, but here's another next step for us. We're going to ask that once charged as a misdemeanor, we're going to ask, and we've been working with our defense bar partners in the court and DCJ, to ask these individuals to participate in a risk needs assessment. What do they need to help themselves relative to their abuse and addictive issues? Some are going to be, some of the individuals that come in the criminal justice system are going to be long-term abusers or addicted to controlled substances. And we need to tailor a program for them. We need to understand what their needs are in order to help give them an appropriate response. Some are going to be more casual users that need less deep, intensive involvement by certainly services, treatment programs. Some are going to need residential, and some just need a good, solid talking to and a wake-up call. And we need to recognize who's who with respect to that. So we're going to do a needs assessment for this population, this group of people. And then to incentivize participation in us helping them with their needs, we will literally dismiss even the misdemeanor conviction if they participate in that treatment program. So from a numbers standpoint, this is another 1,500 individuals for the balance of the county. So you have about 2,000 per year, 500 participated in LEAD, we've already talked about that. Another 1,500 participating in treatment first that stand a very, for the most part, a very realistic chance of making their lives better, participating with some tailored services and treatment, and walking away very potentially with no criminal conviction at all, and that's a win-win for all of us. So we're very optimistic that that will begin. The date that we're pursuing and working hard to obtain is April 3rd for that program being launched and proceeding as we move forward into the conversation.
Thank you. I was hoping before we move on too far past lead, since we're coming up against our time here, to hear from the chief and the sheriff about how you see this program impacting the folks with boots on the ground, folks in the jail, at your various precincts, how they interact with people and interact with folks in incarceration or incarceration.
So as the DA said, for the LEAD project, that's going to be mainly the Central Business District, the core downtown Portland, and around Lloyd Center. So went to the officers that worked that area and said, we're going to go do this law enforcement assisted diversion program, not take people to jail, specifically the first-time drug offenders. What do you think? And they said, great. There's a lot of clients that we run into this project that work for. They're looking for a number of reasons. They see through the drug treatment issues that folks go, and also I think a lot of this ties into folks that have mental illness too. Folks with mental illness should not be going to jail either, in my opinion, to get those folks to the treatment they need. So the officers see this as a way to help those folks be able to help themselves, not tie up in jails, and simply they can get their work done faster and focus on other issues. How it can expand, it's a pilot project now. I think there's a need across all of the county, but to have that pilot project, I think, start off correctly and successfully. I don't think you blanket the whole county with that. So we're trying to focus on areas that data shows need it the best. But the folks on the ground, they're coming into contact with these folks anyway, and they see these folks go through a revolving door of the jail, not beneficial to anybody. We have had, like the sheriff said, the service coordination team in the past, which focused on folks that do have substance abuse issues, where we can take those folks and they need a place to stay. Housing is critical for a number of reasons in the city of Portland. So actually we have called wet housing. Wet housing means somebody who's currently addicted, currently using, we put them in a place to stay. That's unusual. Then they can transition from wet housing to dry housing, where they're hopefully getting off the drugs, not using, and they stair-step approach up. So we've had a number of success stories there. The officers that work in these areas see that. So when the district attorney brought up this proposal, it wasn't a big leap for them to say, yeah, this could work. This is another component for successful treatment.
Yeah, specific to the jail population, frankly, we're not certain what impact it's going to have at this point. Most low-level drug offenders, when they're arrested, they are taken to jail because we have an open booking policy. Everybody that's arrested for a crime in Multnomah County is taken to the Justice Center. They're booked, but as I said, about 30% are released immediately. Most of those are low-level offenders, and we certainly see most of our the people that are arrested for possession of small amounts of narcotics are released on their own recognizance. Where they come back into jail is when they're put on supervision, and so they're on probation, and they get a sanction. So they're not following the direction of their probation officer, not following through with drug treatment or something like that, and they get a sanction, then they might come back into our jail system. So I think the impact from LEAD on the jail population will take a while to work out. Those people are not put on supervision. They're successful in treatment. They're successful in getting into housing and employment opportunities. Fewer of them will be on sanction, will be on supervision, and then certainly fewer of them will be sanctioned.
So we're just finishing up our time here. If you have got some more charts for us, if you have any closing remarks.
Well, boy, time flies when we're talking about it. the area of sentencing, I'll just maybe wrap up with sentencing to prison is disproportionate relative to communities of color. So what has been done in that area? Two major things. All of us have participated in the MCJRP program. That's an acronym for Multnomah County Justice Reinvestment Program. Some quick numbers as we walk through some adjustments in that area. There are about, in a round number way, about 1,000 individuals per year qualify for the MCJRP program. The MCJRP program and those 1,000 individuals is, per our laws and per our sentencing structures, presumed to go to prison. Before the MCJRP program, about 450 stayed in our local community on probation. About 550 per year did in fact receive some term in prison. All of us know that a disproportionate number are from communities of color. We saw earlier is 1.6 of those individuals that are in the system. That's where we add to that disparity within the system as well. Today, the most recent numbers generally are, instead of 45% receiving probation, 75% receiving probation. We have moved it. So when you talk about what's that number mean, because numbers are stark, but what it means is 200 people to 250 people per year, instead of going to prison that used to go under what we did before, aren't going. And that's been, that was 2016, that number was realized. 2015, that number was realized. That has assisted us in many ways doing aggressive, deep diving work to have a more fair and just analysis in that area. And we think that contributes greatly to that reduction. You saw the 1.6 in 2014 that MacArthur found has moved down to 1.06, right? A significant reduction in both aggregate number, 200 to 250 people, but also a great reduction in the relative rate index and disparity. So we're very, it's a continuing progress, a very significant, substantial program that will help people stay in the community, do well by themselves, do well by their families and their loved ones, and succeed, because that's the windfall.
And to quickly add on to that, all the counties in the state are working on that, but obviously Multnomah County is one of the more populous jurisdictions. We were all in Salem a couple weeks ago, and due to those reductions, folks going to prison, the state didn't have to build another one, which is obviously very, very expensive. So the goal, besides treatment, reducing disparities, but also not building another prison in the state.
The criminal justice system is downstream from a lot of areas where we, all of us as a society, as a community, have some failures, whether it's around education, healthcare, or employment. There's a lot of disparities that exist in our communities, and certainly people of color, people in poverty, are experiencing a different lifestyle and different experience than all of us. And I think the criminal justice system, our partners, we have to own what we own. And we are, I'm proud of the work we're doing with Justice Reinvestment and LEAD and other diversion areas to really try and change that red number and change the disparities that exist. But we're going to have to get upstream on some of these other issues to really have the big impact that all of us want on disparities. There are some things that we still can do in diversion, particularly with people in mental health crisis. And I think too many people in our jail system suffer from mental health challenges, and because there aren't resources in the community, police officers end up bringing them to jail because there isn't another option. And that fundamentally is not where we should be. We've got to create options in the community for treatment and supportive care for people with mental health crisis, so that our jail is not the place where we